Hello, everyone. Good morning, wherever you are. Good afternoon. We're so happy to have you join us for our webinar today. Today, we're going to be discussing Ancient Nutrition's Spec-Right story, and namely how they optimize supply chain compliance through our Spec-First approach. So here's a quick look at who will be leading you through our webinar today. I'm your host, Allison Del Grande, Marketing Associate at Spec-Right. And next, I'm joined by Tracy Deeby of Ancient Nutrition. So Tracy has been with Ancient Nutrition for 4 years, working as a quality manager and system administrator for the Spec-Right system based out in Tennessee. Prior to Ancient Nutrition, she was a system administrator and global quality systems manager for Atrium Innovations, Nestle Health Science. So welcome, Tracy. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Spec-Right's Aaliyah Ghazal. Aaliyah is a technical product manager within Spec-Right's dynamic customer success implementation team. She's focused on upholding a best-in-class specification data management platform for both mid-market and enterprise clients across a variety of industries. Aaliyah provides end-to-end process support of walking Spec-Right customers through discovery requirements, alignment around business use cases, user acceptance testing, and go live in efforts to give users the best experience possible during implementation. With over 5 years of experience as a product manager, she continues to hone in on expanding technical skills while also maintaining involvement within other engagement groups outside of the CS team, such as the emerging leaders. Aaliyah is excited to soon take on a new cross-functional role as a future academia program manager, which is an exciting, expanding area of Spec-Right focused on the future of packaging leaders and users. Awesome. Tracy and Aaliyah, thanks so much for being here today. We are lucky to hear from you. And our quick overview of our agenda, we'll be diving into some background on Ancient Nutrition, life before Spec-Right, the use case after implementation, and then getting a behind-the-scenes look at how Tracy and her team are utilizing Spec-Right. So without further ado, I will pass it to you, Tracy, to kick us off.
Thank you, Allison. Here at Ancient Nutrition, we have a motto, saving the world with superfoods, making powerful superfoods accessible to everyone in the form of high-quality supplements. We do a very large line of supplements, including collagen, multivitamins, glandular products, even gummies. What we're doing is working to restore the planet and not just taking from it. And with that, what I'm talking about is regenerative agriculture, providing nutrition, and also keeping in mind climate health. So we want to go beyond sustainability and leading the regenerative revolution. With that, we have our ranch project, which you can always check on our website for any new updates.
Awesome. Thanks, Tracy. Appreciate the overview of Ancient Nutrition. Curious to know, could you tell us a little bit more about some of the team's biggest pain points before using Spec-Right and maybe what that process was like?
Sure. So before we had Spec-Right, everything was being done in the form of Excel, which for our industry, Excel is not a validated system. So we had that challenge of getting into a validated system where we could keep track and update all of these records. So with our product development team, it just would make them have an easier time of creating and tracking that information. Now, our quality team was manually logging each and every complaint from customers. We were using a Google Sheet at the time to track them. And now with the FDA having, their biggest oversight of dietary supplements, we require more automated reporting to be able to get the information quicker and accurately to present that.
Yeah, those are great points. How long did that typically take the team to go through a manual process like that? And maybe touch on what regulatory reporting requirements were you using previously?
Everything came down to Excel and Google Sheets. So for one customer service agent to log all the fields in would take them typically 10 to 15 minutes because they were trying to plug it in as they were going. And sometimes they would have to come back and update fields. Maybe even as long as 20 minutes for one complaint. Now, with that information coming over to our quality team, then we had to do additional review, which took even longer. So we were probably spending on average 30 to 40 minutes per complaint. So that's a lot of time to pull away from a person.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great overview and is a good beginning point to kind of see how we're going to transition from prior to SpecRite to the functions that the team uses now with their everyday processes.
Yes, it's much quicker, much more efficient.
Awesome. So we'll take a look at SpecRite in action here. So now that your system is fully functional and we've been underway with your go live for quite a while now, can you walk us through some of the most used SpecRite functions from your team and how those work?
Sure. So for product development, they mainly focus on the tabs for formulas, ingredients, finished product, and packaging to build those specs. Once those are built, the finished good tab has all of those specs added, and then we do an approval process through the system. Quality focuses mainly on the quality and the AN documents tab, where we spend a lot of time doing our complaints, product releases, CAPAs, nonconformances, and of course the documentation. All customer complaints are held in that quality tab.
Awesome. So not only has this saved your team time, but has it also given your team visibility into tracking of those records and, the sort of history around those types of data entries, and what other maybe visibility has this kind of given you to the data that's now in the system?
Instead of waiting for the end of the month to look at all of the data at one time and trying to do pivot charts and developing trends that way, we can build reports to look at either real-time data, or if we're looking for something specific for a time frame, we're now noticing these trends and spending less time at the end of the month and finding them when they're happening.
Yeah.
So it's definitely given us a lot of insight, especially when we have a specific area that we watch for.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that's really, really powerful to have that real-time data, like you said. And so having that real time, how does that allow you to really drive action across the business with that data in hand pretty quickly?
Yeah, what we do is when we notice a trend, maybe it's on a lot number that we see pop up frequently, we will immediately go back to a manufacturer and give them the information, the trend that we're seeing, so that we do it at that time instead of waiting. So we're able to get ahead of future complaints if we already have the information and the root cause for something.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think the key there is really being proactive in your processes and day-to-days instead of reactive. So
Yes.
that's very, very powerful. Thank you.
Yes, it's been wonderful.
Great. Well, I think we'll transition into a few demos of your current system. You'll kind of walk us through some of the key attributes that you're utilizing and leveraging right now with your current processes. So I'm excited for some other people to get to see, to get to have some visibility into kind of what you've been using on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so here you can see on my screen, I'm settled on the quality tab, which is where I spend my most time. And you'll see all the other areas. Now, as I mentioned, product development focuses on formula, ingredient, finished good, and packaging. But under quality, this is where we have all of our records for corrective action reports, complaints, material audits, which are product released to market, and then any non-conformance. So this is where we're housing all of those details. And then we do keep track of suppliers, AN documents, and change control. But here is the tab where I spend probably 80% of my time. And you can see each record type is shown and what finished good or raw material it might be related to. And then we have the description and the status. So we keep a lot of information right at our fingertips as soon as you look into the system.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think this is a great kind of initial view. And as I look to see this screen here, like you said, it has all of those different record types. But I mean, you can drill further down if you'd like to kind of get more of a filtered view, which is really, really powerful too. So you can really have that data right at your fingertips, like you were saying.
Yes. And sometimes if I'm looking for something older versus something newer, it really takes just a click of a button to switch the order of which I need to find something.
Amazing.
And that happens across all headers.
That's awesome.
Okay. For quality, what I can show you is how we do our complaint process now versus the old way that we were doing it. So when we click a new item and I'm going to choose a customer complaint and I'm going to create it, instead of having to track across a Google sheet, we based our fields in the order of which a customer service rep would fill them out. And they can just fill out the complaint as they go. They're looking for the date that they're filling out the form. It's going to automatically be in a status. The next section, which you can see some things are grayed out. We know we don't want them to touch them. And they will put in an item number, which is linked to all of our finished goods. So there's no trying to pick the wrong item each time. And that also helps us with uniform entries. So we can find that item. They can put in an order number. They can put in the quantity. They can fill in a lot number. Then they would fill in their information. We'll just use mine as an example. I'm in the quality channel. When it was received. With the FDA, we have to know when the customer actually initiated the complaint. So maybe if it wasn't today, if it was Friday, I can put that information in. I need to put a description here. And this field will hold 32,000 characters. So whether your customer's calling in with 2 to 3 sentences or a book, we can capture all of the details. Customer's name, we will just use my information. And then we can do the type and the categories. I'll just choose some randoms here based on our requirements. And then we have other fields. We also track for our supply chain what the cost relationship is. So we can do trends and tracking on how much we have with returns, how much we have with refunds. And then whether we want to add a photo of a complaint, we can do that. We have a section that's dedicated specifically to serious adverse event reports, which is an FDA requirement, which is also the same information we collect for any Canadian adverse events for Health Canada. And then there's an investigation and corrective action. This is only held for quality. So this is something a customer service rep would not enter. Once they've entered all their information, they come back up and they check a box right here that says submit for QA review. When they check this box, what it does is it will send it directly to quality. It starts a workflow. So we check this box and they hit save and they're done. They don't have to go back. They're not going to go in and make changes. But as soon as they hit that submit for QA and they save, all of the details are available immediately. So we have all of that information, and this will now show up on any report that I have that's built to pull that real-time data.
That's awesome, Tracy. Yeah, I think that's a great point. So all of these data points here are available to pull into a report very, very quickly. There's a lot of data that is entered on these forms, but it looks like, you even have the flexibility to manipulate, what you want your suppliers to be filling out and populating, which is really powerful as well, because it gives you the ability to go back and leverage the available data and then kind of filter that down for what you want them to specifically fill out versus what your internal team after it's workflowed should be using to move that record forward.
Right. And we do actually have the availability to hide fields from suppliers to prevent them looking across different records.
Awesome.
And then we can also attach files if a customer service rep receives a photo or a video in some cases. we can attach things to Spec-Right to the complaint direct.
That's great. I think do we have one more demo after this one?
I can show reports, which would be a big help to see how we are now tracking. So if I look at my dashboard, for example, I have a complaint dashboard that has helped me keep real-time information. So all of the items here can be refreshed at any time to show where I just added a new item. So we would have here, if I'm looking at broken seals, which was a very big topic for us for the last couple of years, we can look and get it for the prior month or for this current month. So I look at monthly views usually. I can see where we were at versus the prior month and who's leading with, an issue or a specific item. And then I can always look at my product releases, see how many we're looking at, how many were released, how many were held. It's all data that is driven by the reports tab. So on the reports tab, I have many reports that I've created. If I take a look, I have 59 reports I've created already. And a lot of these I share across the company because a lot of them look at the same things. So I can share with management for them to also have a real-time view.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think those dashboards are such a great feature. I think the visibility of just being able to see the data, I think is a very quick way to kind of wrap your mind around kind of where in real time where you are. And I can only imagine how much time this saves from going from Excel based reporting to this. Because I mean, if you have 50 new entries between the time you created your last report and now, it's kind of you're redoing that report all over again. So really with this, it's like a one click and you have your new report and your new dashboard right there for you.
Yes, and that saves many, many hours, even a couple of days from the Excel. We would spend a lot of time at the end of the month doing those items where I can come in here on the day that I'm ready to do, and I can actually just take snippets if I needed to of each of the charts and place them in my PowerPoints rather than creating them myself.
That's great. Fantastic. Well, thanks for that overview. That was awesome. All right. So just to kind of transition from what we just saw, I think really it'd be helpful to know, could you walk us through the highlights of how Spec-Right has improved your internal processes? I know we touched on a few, but just internal and external, what the main, highlights of what you're seeing after being live with this new system. What are the biggest data insights that you've witnessed over the last year or so, and really the overall customer impact and experience that you could maybe speak to from using this system?
So the very first item there was a big win for us as a company, having the broken seals data real time and also being able to link those complaints to a specific supplier at the time that they're created really helped us dive in and find root cause and find where the problems were happening. So we were in September of 2022, 700 broken seals. In a year's time, we have actually been able to bring that down to between 2 and 250, which is a huge, huge win. So we're able to dig in with those dashboards and reports. The reporting time has saved me, like I said, anywhere from hours to days, depending on how many edits I had to make to Excel. And then reducing customer complaints across the board because we are finding trends earlier and being able to address the customer in a response quicker by knowing what we've seen about this product or this lot in the past. And then being able to know when a quality complaint comes in and when it's ready for processing saves us from going back and forth to a Google sheet to see if I need to do something now. Did anything new come in? We're alerted when they come in automatically.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that's great. It kind of really summarizes the proactive approach with your overall process, and of course, saving time, which I'm sure is the biggest the biggest win in some aspects. So that's really amazing. It kind of allows your team to focus on what their overall job is day to day, as opposed to spending time manipulating, Excel or data. Those types of things can be automated now, which is huge. So that's awesome.
Right. Yeah. It saved me so many hours of work to allow me to do more work. So.
Exactly. But the more fun work, maybe.
Yeah, clearing my plate anyway.
Sure. Awesome. So that said, where do you see Ancient Nutrition growing with Spec-Right? What ways do you see kind of being able to, in the future, leverage the system maybe in more ways than you're doing right now?
So last year when we implemented, we started with Conga reporting, which is a great option. We have a template that we provided to Spec-Right, and then we chose what fields would fill into the template, and then we would get it downloaded right out of the system. Since then, we've made some changes internally. So with Conga, we want to revamp it and get it to report more fields and newly identified fields so that we can use it across more items and get it really up to date to what we can use. A big project next year for quality and compliance will be working with our commercialization team to add all of our labels as documents into Spec-Right. They are a packaging item, which is listed, but we would like to have all of the artwork approved through Spec-Right for the compliance piece. And then assisting supply chain by getting a compare tab that's offered by Spec-Right so that they can easily compare either specs or ingredients rather than running the report. They would be able to see it a little easier that way. Standardizing the audit form is one of my goals for next year so that I can have all of my audit process in the system instead of partially in the system and partially on paper.
Fantastic. Awesome. So, in Conga reporting, that's the PDF reporting. So not only do you have our internal Spec-Right reports that can be generated very easily, but you can also export PDF-based reports, which I'm sure are very helpful in kind of sharing that information, not only internally, but externally as needed as well. And so just sounds like a lot of iteration on, adding more automation, more standardization, really just improving the process that has already been built, and kind of working with what you already have in the system, and then allowing additional changes and updates as your business grows and you use the system more, and you continue to get more data into the system. It's only going to bring more opportunity for ideas of improvement, and new thought process on just how to improve day-to-day work and make things easier for your team.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Tracy. That was great. Really appreciate your overview of the current process, and excited to see where Ancient Nutrition goes with Spec-Right.
Yes, I am too.
Awesome. Well, with that, we are wrapping it up today. Thank you so much, Aaliyah and Tracy, for sharing the Ancient Nutrition success story, and giving us a little bit of an inside look into Spec-Right in action, and how Ancient Nutrition is really optimized their business through Spec-Right and our Spec-First approach. So if you're interested in learning more about how Spec-Right can transform your team, visit specrite.com/get started and request a demo today. So thanks all for joining us. We hope to see you on another webinar soon. And Aaliyah and Tracy, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.